Good morning, everyone. We are in for some excitement today. I'm just going to wait a minute or so for a few other people to come on. We're in for a real treat today. Good morning, everyone. We're just going to wait a few minutes for people to come on. So today's subject is a very exciting one I've looked forward to actually having the answer to for quite some time. And it's very simple. How we can remember our past lives. And this is so, when I give readings with people, they often ask about their past lives. And so for some reason, I've never asked the question until this morning. I asked the question, why can't we remember our past lives? And they said, well, how you can remember your past lives is a better question. And so we're going to go into those two sides, why we can't remember and how we can remember. And it was so ridiculously simple and extremely exciting to look forward to the prospects of being able to actually consciously reclaim past life information. And we're going to get into that shortly. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, beautiful brand new day. Posting that out. And there we go. Wonderful. There we are. So yeah, how come you cannot remember your past lives? And how can you remember your past lives? And the Divine Collective are brilliant beings. They are just they're amazing, and they have it. Simplicity is fundamental to the information that they want to communicate to us. Simplicity is essential for the information they want to communicate to us. So when I asked them the question, while I was showering away this morning, I said, why can't I remember all my past lives? And they said, well, you can. The reason you cannot is because you are so localized to this identity that you have currently that you cannot recall anything else other than what you think you remember from the localized lifetime that you're in. In other words, the body that you're listening to this in right now, the mind and the emotions, the memories you've accumulated in this physical mechanism, all of our attention is so upon this that we exclude everything else beyond it. So past lives, future timelines, all of these things are available for you to access if you can break your attachment to your localized identity. It's very simple. You have a very large encyclopedia in front of you. It has many pages in it, but you're only looking at one page. You haven't taken your eyes off the page you're reading. So you must learn to take your eyes, your attention, away from the page that you're on right now. For there are many pages in your experience of being, past, present, and future, as you label it while you're in that mechanism, that body. But take your attention off the page you're looking at in the moment and expand your awareness to include the moment as something greater than just this moment from the body mind you perceive yourself to be in right now. So isn't that fascinating? That because we are so attached to thinking this is who I am, that we have excluded everything else that we are. As they're saying, yes, there is no separation from any point of time and space or any other point of time and space. They all exist equally and simultaneously in the here and now. But you're choosing to look at a very small segment of that whole thing. Your awareness is confined. You put your attention, giving this aspect of your attention more reality than all the other aspects of your being. It's like saying you are listening to these words that we're speaking right now, and you're hearing these words we're speaking right now, but you're not aware of what your feet are doing, or you're not aware of what's going on behind you, because you have localized your attention to the voice sound, the frequency of words that you're hearing. So your attention has moved away from expandedness into a finite point of time and space in perceptual awareness. Again, we are using words that do not properly delineate the ideas that we're speaking of. Even speaking these words, we collapse your awareness down into them, where in our case, we are quite expanded. We are aware of these words, but we are also aware of all of these other interconnections of self to all other things. We're not collapsed. Even in speaking these words, we are still mindful of all else. But you remain collapsed into that form that you're in right now. If you want to begin the process of remembering and recalling past, remembering and recalling future as what it is now, then it is important you learn to lose your attachment to that finite identity in which you find yourself perceiving what you're hearing right now. Learning to expand your awareness. And again, we use words very carefully because even the words imply a separateness, which is one of the challenges that many of you have in even hearing much of what we're saying, because you are localizing the meaning of what we are saying to a finite conception of what you believe it represents in that form. One of the reasons that we mostly communicate without words, more in the sense of energy and feeling, which is knowing, is because we do not then create further separateness from ourselves or from all else that we are. This thing called language is a wondrous mechanism for creating a finite conception of experience, but it takes away so much more without you realizing it. If you are able to begin to quiet your interpretive mind down, if you're able to still your focus of self as being that body, if you're able to expand your awareness without the intention to try and find a specific thing or time or space, but to expand your awareness out naturally. And again, we use the word expand because it implies that something is more contained in a perceptual field. It is important you understand when we say the word expand, you're including more in your perceptual field of your awareness. That this expansion beyond this body, the expansion beyond the thoughts in the body, the expansion beyond the memory of the experiences of that body, the expansion beyond the conception of what you think that body might be experiencing in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, to expand beyond all that, to expand beyond the borders of your acquired perception, begins to liberate you from your localization to it. In other words, you are no longer localized to a finite point of perception and can then begin to recall and reconnect to that which you are in the greater self, which is all in truth that is. But like the rings of a tree, you will incrementally expand outwards if you use the form that you're in as a center point, as you can use the any lifetime you've experienced as a center point for starting. You can expand your awareness out to include more and more of what you are. And from our perspective, that is without limit. But for the sake of this communication, the simple steps of learning to quiet your body and still your mind and expand your awareness beyond what you think you know begins to liberate you to that which you do not know, but which is contained within your awareness, simply requiring your attention to it again in order to realize that you still know what you think you do not. Interesting. So that was very exciting for me. Sitting there, I actually yelled out to Norma. I said, "Hey, guess what? I'm downloading me right now," and that the idea that why we can't and how we can remember our past lives. And yes, they're saying not to use the word why we can't, but why you haven't been able to is because you're so localized. We're also localized to this body as being the exclusive self, this mind, this accumulation of sensorial data stored in the system, disconnecting us from an infinite potential that we all always are. And that sorry, I'm really excited, so I might be talking a bit fast, because as we're communicating through this, I'm also communicating with them other questions I'm asking simultaneously at the same time. So think about that body that you're sitting in right now. Look at the hands, look at your arms, your legs. That's just a localized point of finite energy that you call John or Mary or Carolyn or Angie or whatever the name is, that point of reference that's created is just a point of reference. Like they're saying, like a period in the cosmic storybook. That body is just like a period in a cosmic storybook. And you are stuck in the period and forgetting all of the sentences that come before and after that period. I love it. And so coming to that place where you can begin to differentiate yourself from localized biological and mental identity by expanding your awareness. By expanding your awareness becomes the beginning steps to liberating yourself from the restrictions that the current mind-body system may be placing upon you. Each and every one of you have had lifetimes of unimaginable bliss and joy. You've experienced places in time, space, and matter that humans imagine often, but you've actually been there. But you cannot remember them because you are focusing on the period. You are not focusing upon the sentences before and after. But you can learn to do this. It is not difficult. It will be difficult because you are moving into the unknown, and that might stimulate some fear for you. And that fear may make you reluctant to go past the elements of discomfort that occur when you realize that that identity that you think you have right now is not all that you are. Cool. Cool. So let's go into some questions about what they call it, how you can remember past lives. There was a conversation that, yes, the process of getting your awareness, they want me to stress this right now, the process of your awareness being expanded beyond what you know and what you think you know, or even beyond what you might conceive of what you think is beyond what you know, is the starting point of being able to liberate yourself from the known into the unknown. For it is only in the unknown that you can experience, recall, and remember all that you do not know while you are localized to that finite form. Cool. So let's go in dreamland. This is like dreamland, isn't it? Good morning, South Africa. Hello, Allison. Hello, Megan. Hi, Jesse. Hi, Ella. Hello, London. London calling. Yeah, triggers that song in my subconscious field. Question from Louise. Yeah, in my mind's eye, I have seen what seemed like Mayan pictures several times, as well as remote memories from France, also being murdered in a hut. Was there memories from, were these memories from past lives? Yes, it is important to understand that each and every one of you in an integrated infinite field has experienced all potentialities. All potentialities. In your case specifically, as in any case specifically, this is all true. Okay, I'm just asking the question now, what is the benefit to remembering past lives or future selves? What's the benefit? The simple benefit is being able to bring more of yourself into expression here, creatively and effectively, in a creation of what you would call joy, excitement, and playfulness. There are some of you that have brought forth other lifetimes that aren't so pleasant, but you may at any time release your attachment to that. But yes, it's important you understand that you are looking at a concept through a finite mechanism. Even we here communicating through this form are restricted in some degree by the nature, the quality, and the information that this one believes to be or not to be true. And so we seek to find words and language that will allow you to comprehend this conception that the infinite that you are is that which has experienced all that is and all that ever will be. And in that attempt to grasp that concept, some of you might be confused in trying to figure out then, well, how then can I have been this and this and this? You would be looking at that specifically from a finite perceptual of past, present, and future. But when we view things, we view it from a very complete state of being, so that all of these things are occurring naturally in this moment. without separation. The excitement you get to have is you get to experience something different than everything else by choice. And you may, by choice, relinquish your attachment to that finite experience to experience everything else. But the deliciousness you get to have is you get to draw on all of your experience, consciously or unconsciously, to create the perception of a different experience, which can be very exciting sometimes. On this physical dimension exclusively, there are limitless potentials, but there are dimensions beyond matter that you cannot comprehend because you have a way of measuring your experience that excludes what you would call non-matter, which is still a different degree of experiential energy. But you are remembering all of these things. It is how you, to answer the question that has been asked so many times is, well, isn't that amazing how 50 years ago we saw these things on TV and now we see them now? It is because 50 years later was happening then. And the one that wrote these ideas down was remembering then at that time. They brought the future into the past. Well, in reality, they never brought anything from anywhere. They simply actualized what was into what is, and it gave the illusion that something from the future was predicted. But all of these things, past, present, and future, exist simultaneously in the state of your fullness, of your complete unified being, which has no conflict with any aspect of itself. So we have literally no conflict with any aspect of ourself, which is why we can communicate the way we are. There is no confusion if you understand that you are limitless in terms of past, present, and future. You embrace all in your conscious awareness, not localized. You embrace all time and all space. So in effect, you have writers and creators and beings that create these conceptions of the future that become conceptions of the present when you think you've reached the future, but that is not the case. They have simply accessed that which already is and brought it back to what is. And although this sounds contradictory, it's actually quite simple when you realize this quantum state of being, of limitless awareness, of all things occurring simultaneously in the creation, and that you as the awareness may avail yourself of that experience of being. Whenever you find somebody accessing imagination, they are not simply accessing imagination, they are accessing a limitless potential of self that is available to all. It's just that very few recognize that doorway of creation. And it is not so much creation as just actualizing what already is. Cool. Thank you. Thank you for that question, Louise. Question from Mike. I've had images of a past self, I think, of being hung from a tree during a period of slavery. This image brings up a great deal of anger. Am I imagining this, or did this really happen? They're saying if you've been listening to us, then you know the case to be true. The difference you have in reconciling that is that you still hold on to your anger, which is why you remember this. But your anger isn't so much related to the event as it is related to your believing that the event was greater than your own ability to create change. that self that you are was not located to that finite point in time and space, and the belief that you are somehow limited is what makes you angry. The belief that any one experience can somehow limit you would make anybody angry when you are infinite. It is like realizing you have two arms and 2 legs, and they're tied together by somebody else, and you think you can't move and that you have no arms and legs and you feel helpless. But that is not the case. You are the one that tied the arms and legs as well. And when you think that you are bound by one experience of time and space, then you limit yourself to that experience of time and space. As we started this process off in understanding that localized identity, that physical form in which you find yourself right now with the acquired thoughts and emotions and what you call memories stored within it, your attention being given so exclusively to this exclude your awareness of all these other things. But some of you are beginning to realize there is more to who I am than what I think I remember. There's more to who I am than this physical body. There is more to who I am than what I might consider in the future. And in great truth there is. And as many of you are now awakening to this realization that you are not exclusively limited to the dictates of this point of time and space, that identity, that body, those thoughts, those emotions, as you begin to liberate your awareness from those things, you can bring more into this life as you expand out from it. You can bring more into the life that you're in right now while expanding out from your attachment to the finite identity of it. You begin to include all or more of what you are relative to what you think you've been believing you are. Thank you. I love it. Thank you, Michael. So this is very exciting. The idea, the process of meditation does not have to be very complex. There are so many schools of thought that make it way more difficult than it actually is. And meditation is literally, the simple thing is what they've always told us now, is literally the minute you take a breath deliberately, no matter what state you might find yourself in this energy that you call emotion, no matter how troubled it may be, the moment you, as an awareness, as the operator of the system, and it is important you understand that the system operates on your behalf because you are present in it. You are the life within the system. The system executes and carries out your command to live. And so when you are in any state, if you consciously and deliberately recognize the very nature of your breath is an assertion of your will over matter, not just the matter of the body, but the matter of your emotional energy, then you may simply breathe even in the most anxious or depressed state. The minute you assert your breath, you are asserting control over matter. And emotion organizes matter. And if you're asserting control over matter, then you are also asserting control over energy. And so you may simply begin to use your breath deliberately, keeping the body still and quieter, and using your breath to make the body even more quiet, more still. Matter will follow the dictates of your attention. If your attention goes to your frustration or your anxiety or your depression, then you will remain attached to them because you are giving them your life. But when you pull your attention away from them, and you keep pulling your attention away from them, you take your life out of them. And so the depression, the anxiety, the fear, the guilt, the shame begins to diminish because you're taking your life, using your breath away from that, breathing yourself away from that. And as you breathe and release, you're commanding matter to be your servant. From this perspective, you then begin to liberate your awareness from the subjectivity of finite states of perceptual being. And you begin to emerge into an awareness of something beyond what you know that you may not understand from who you think you are, but the experience of expansion in and of itself will begin to liberate you. You will begin to perceive more things like these memories of being hung, these memories of being in a cave, or being a chimpanzee, or being a flower. You'll begin to remember more of those perceptions of being, that greater self, as you begin to liberate yourself from that finite perceptual reality of that body and mind. You do not wish to get rid of it, for all things exist for a reason in your creative process, which you too will come to understand through the experiencing of what you need to experience beyond what you are familiar with. Thank you. That's cool. Question, what are the abilities from my past or future lives that I can bring into this lifetime? They're saying anything. When you begin to, when you begin to conceive of an idea, rest assured that idea has already existed. There are, this might seem disappointing to some of you, but there are no new ideas in the whole of creation. There is the new experience from a localized point of view, if you believe you are that finite body that only has a limited set of experiences, then you will believe that this flying to another planet or moving your body from one point of time and space to another instantaneously are just fantasies. They seem new to you, but as you begin to realize and these things become reality, they are not new, they were always existing. Your ability to bring them into this experience of time-space becomes measured then by your perception of what you think time and space are. But you are not limited the minute you begin to liberate yourself, from the identity that you find yourself in at this time. You're not limited in any way, shape, or form. Anything we can bring into it, anything that you can deliberately bring into your conscious awareness. I mean, you look at guys like Nikola Tesla or Graham Bell or any great inventor or creator. The minute they conceive of an idea, they're conceiving of the idea outside of the known self. Some call it imagination, right? But they're conceiving of a reality outside of the known self because they've expanded their awareness beyond what they think they know into what they do not know. And they go, oh, I got a new idea. But it wasn't a new idea. It was just an infinite potential. So all possibilities exist for all of us the moment we move our awareness outside of what we're connected to in terms of individualized perception. Yes, this is what's most important to understand, that you are, while you have this individual expression, you have limitless potential available to you as well in forms of ideas, information, and experience. You are unlimited in that regard. You may call anything forth. The minute you ask a question, many of you we find will ask a question and you will look for the answer in your own little mind. And your own little mind only knows what you remember from this experience of being in this physical form. And so you don't get a new answer. You have to step outside. There is an answer. There's an answer to this question. There's a solution to this problem. There's a new way of doing this outside of what you know. So you must reach with awareness outside of what you know to know what you know outside of what you know. And in that perspective, you move into the perception of what you might think of as creating something new, but you're simply drawing in something different from the potential of what you perceive as being right now. Cool. Thank you. Question from Nicole. I was in a relationship in a past life with channeling spirit guide Eric. Any messages from him for me? Thank you. I don't know. The only words that I can say to that are "Hello, little sister." That's it. Hello, little sister. I have little William here. I have a different type of relationship with that specific individual for very precise reasons, because there are things that he has to sort out between himself and the beings that he experienced other lifetimes with. But I can't get into much more than that, Nicole. But he's just, hi, little sister. Wonderful. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Question from AKASHA. I have envisioned myself as many beings: a tree, a dragon like bird, a gentle rock, giant blowing dandelion seeds upon the earth, an ancient shaman. What is my purpose other than love? You have the opportunity to know that you are all things, but you also manifested each aspect of this separate state in order to experience your infinite potential in a unique way. As much as many of you wish to find this place of unification with yourself fully and completely, there is also the joy of this perceptual illusion of separation that gives you the awareness that there is something different and more than what you think there is. And your experience of being able to articulate something that you have never experienced in that form, although you have, but to have the illusion, the perception that you have experienced or expressing something different is actually very exciting if you think about it. How many of you can say that you have been a dandelion seed blowing through the air for hundreds and hundreds of miles to land upon a mountaintop and begin to grow a whole new life? How many of you can remember the sensation of landing as the wind stops and landing upon the side of that mountain and cinching your way down into a crevice and just snuggling there and waiting for the right water, the right sun to give you a new life, one part feeding the other. And this is it. Are you nurturing your life? Are you changing your life? Are you destroying your life? What are you doing and what for? You have free will in this regard. So what purpose would love have for you? What purpose would joy have for you? What purpose would fear have for you? For all of these experiences, you have manifested for reason. And it's usually the reason of freedom, to know that you are free to create and be as you wish and as you will, regardless of what is occurring around you, which is part of you anyway. I'm laughing because of the paradoxical nature of a unified field with finite parts is funny. But they're saying that even the idea that there's some sort of contradiction between being a finite piece of awareness and an infinite spectrum containing that, they're saying there is no contradiction when you understand that the awareness is all of this. But it can also be any part of this and always remain as all of this. As you sit in that body hearing this communication today and you're hearing these words, you interpret this information through that finite identity. For some of you, this is very exciting, very enlivening, and you live to experience that change in your being that you initiate through this one or through others. You delight in the joy of experiencing change, for in truth you are the changeless, but you are also the change. And the contrast between those two is the delicious dance of life that will go on and on and on. You will never cease to exist, although you will occasionally have the perception that you are somehow separate from everything else that is, and there's a certain excitement to that. The idea that you can create something that no one else has ever created is very exciting. Thank you. Wow. Very exciting day today. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome. Second question from AKASHA. It's a very, very good one. I've never seen anybody do that before. Second question. Am I being compelled to move? Good for you. Where and how? Oh gosh, I'm hearing my own answers. Yes. And now you find yourself in the playful position of being what you are and being what you are not, and recognizing the deliciousness in having it all and having nothing. The deliciousness of being all and having nothing. There is a certain joy, a certain exhilaration in knowing that you can have it all and you can have nothing. And each can be equally delicious in the experience of that. Wow, thank you. I'm glad that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, the way that flows, because that's what happens to me a lot when they're talking when they come through in this finite place. Question from Artist Girl. What practices from my life as an Essenes would serve me at this time? They're saying the practices that you are seeking, you are well aware of what they are, but you still are enjoying your the struggle that you have created for yourself in thinking there's still something to be striven for. And this is important to keep on the dance. But if you want a specific thing, that would liberate you, shake you out of this house, for you have been entrenched in your home far too long, is to again simply learn to listen outside of what you are thinking. To ask yourself that question, as one here did earlier. She asked the question and she heard the answer and began to awaken that there is this self that I am and the self that I am that communicate with each other. If I am listening and I am communicating, if I'm asking, I can receive. I can receive if I'm open. If you are listening, you can hear. So the question, if you ask that question of yourself again, what can I take from my lifetime as an Essene that I can use now to liberate myself or expand myself from what I think I am now? If you ask that question and listen, you may get the most wondrous answers, sometimes very simple. It could be as simple as drink more water, or go out and sit on the beach and follow the rhythm of the waves and feel how they affect your consciousness, or become aware of the rotation of this earth, or to become aware of incorporating the entire planetary system in your being. Ask the question and listen. Do not try to find the answer in what you remember. You will not find it in what you remember from this localized experience. The answers to questions that you do not have readily available to you cannot be found in your own mind. You must learn to extend your awareness beyond what you remember in the experience of that finite form in which you find yourself. And this takes repeated process. Learn to ask questions that you do not know the answers to, and learn to listen, and then learn to listen. Don't try to remember answers. Listen for them. As you ask us questions, we give you answers because you are listening. If you are listening, you will hear. Just as if we are listening, we will hear your question. I love it. Thank you so much. Question from Danielle. What is my biggest challenge from my past life I need to overcome now? They're saying that the fact that you think you need to have a challenge from a past life to overcome what you're dealing with now, you actually restrict yourself from overcoming what you need to deal with now, because you're thinking that the solution for that will come from somewhere else. But you may simply ask the question, what can I do to move past this moment, past this belief, and listen outside of what you know? Do not use the reference in your case of looking for the answer in a past life, for you will find yourself localized into another identity that may not contain that answer. But in this moment, if you ask the question and you are truly listening, there will be an answer, an idea, information that will be different than what you know, and that you can follow. Then you follow the trail of your cosmic breadcrumbs that you will give yourself while you're in that form. Cool. Thank you, Danielle. Wow. Hello from Colorado. Well, it's great to have you guys here today. So, how can you remember past lives? Learn first. I'm just going to, yes, okay. We're going to recap this. First, learn to realize that body and mind that you are in right now is not the exclusive, localized point of who you are. It's just one aspect of an infinite state of being. Understand, the minute you start to assert your breath, the minute you can begin the process of deliberately using your will over the body with your breath, is the starting point. Learning first to breathe. And learning to deliberately distance your awareness from those energies, those emotions that do not represent or the experience you want to have. So if you're feeling depression or anxiety or fear or guilt or shame in great measure, then learning very gently to draw your attention away from those. You have to draw your attention away from that state of being, that aspect of finite being. You can use your breath. Use your breath to draw your attention away from anxiety. Use your breath to draw your attention away from your suffering. Use your breath to draw your attention away from your depression. Use your breath deliberately. By deliberately using your breath, as they have said repeatedly, we are essentially what we're doing is we're asserting an authority over matter. There aren't other animals on the planet that can deliberately go and regulate their breathing, alter its rhythm, alter and change the way the organs function internally. But there is this part of you that can do that. And when you start doing that, you're asserting authority over matter. And emotion is a depression, anxiety, fear, guilt, shame. They're energy. That's all they are. They're energy constructed in a certain state. But the minute you start breathing, you start to change that energy, because now you're asserting your awareness over matter. And so as the anxiety or depression, if you continue to breathe your attention away from them, you draw your attention away from them, they'll diminish. They'll get less and less and less. And I can say from personal experience that I went through many years of extreme anxiety and depression, and I self-medicated a lot. And understanding the minute you learn how to take your attention away from that, you begin to draw your attention away from that energy and bring yourself into the breath, for lack of a better term, bring yourself into the experience of your breath. You can slow your breath down, you can make it deeper, you can change and regulate the motion of your breath. You can begin to change and regulate how your awareness works in the body. And it takes practice and patience. I went for months. It took me several years to actually get out of all of my they want me to tell you though, you do not have to wait as this one did for several years. You may take, as we are saying to you now, and you may resolve this very quickly, even in as little as a day, if you are committed to recognizing that it is you that are causing this body to breathe a certain way, and it is you that can take your attention away from anything. You can take your attention and put it on your right cheek, and you can take your attention and put it in your left foot, and you can take your attention and you can put it to the back of your head. If you can move your attention like this around your body, it is the same when it comes to emotion. You can put your attention on the idea of joy. You can put your attention on the idea of fear. You can put your attention on the idea of guilt or shame. You can move your attention around, just as you can move your awareness around your body. You can move your attention away from suffering. And this is very simple once you learn the skill of doing this. Then you just have to do it enough times until you know how to do it repeatedly. Cool. Thank you. Yes. It's great you guys having this. Question from Baba Gira. If I was to die now and leave this body, would I choose to reincarnate again, or is my soul satisfied with its experiences here? Well, there's many levels to that question that you're asking. And from a William perspective, there is a certain delight in realizing that the body that you're in right now is not limited to what you think you know. The body that you're in right now is not limited to what you think you know, nor is your experience of the world limited to what you think you know. The minute you are able to articulate changes in your own awareness, in your own perception, you begin to articulate changes in the world around you. I was in a state once that was very suicidal, multiple times. And I thought the world, maybe I'd better just to leave the body and not be in this world. And because I wanted a better life, I was suffering. I was, I was an alcoholic, I was a drug addict, I had a lot of challenges. And I needed to get past those, and I thought I couldn't. And then when I got this thought, somebody gave me a thought that I was loving and lovable. This thought was given to me. I am loving and lovable. I had never thought that thought about myself at that time. And when for the first time I had a thought that was different than any other thought I had had, it completely changed my experience of being. I suddenly became aware that I wasn't this terrible, low-life being. I was this amazing, loving, lovable being. Just the changing of a single thought in your mind can completely begin to change the world around you. It's pretty astounding the power that we have when we begin to liberate it. They're saying to tell this one, she must explore what is new to be renewed. She must explore what is new to be renewed. The world in which she finds herself does not have to be what she thinks it is, but it will become what she thinks it is. And she can simply change what she thinks it is, and it will become what she thinks it is. You may liberate yourself from all suffering. You do not have to leave this point of time and space to experience the joy and the bliss of your limitless being as a vibrational frequency of what you would call love or joy or playfulness. You may have that now. You do not have to go somewhere else to be where you already are. You just simply have to remember where you are, what you are, where you are, and it will be so. Thank you. Thank you for that question. I really appreciate that question. It hits home for me. Great questions today, guys. Tanya's asking, what is my connection to a being named White Feather? First, the name came to me, then his face and some weird synchronicities followed. They're saying when you understand the concepts that we have presented to you today, then you will simply begin to recognize that you are calling forth attributes of yourself to alter and change the experience of what you call your life in that finite expression, that form you call Tanya. You can change it to be something very different than what you know it has been, so that it can become something completely different while still in that individualized form. You are drawing upon other aspects of other lives. As you become more and more aware of this, it will be more exciting for you, for you can then tailor your life to be as you wish it to be, which you are doing consciously or unconsciously anyways. All of you are doing this. All of us are doing this. The difference is we are more aware of that process consciously than many of you are, but you are still part of that process. We also like a surprise from time to time too, as do you. Cool. Thank you, Tanya. I'm going to take one more question. I think we're gonna call it a day today. So, how can you remember past lives? Is where we started this off, and it's really learning to expand your awareness beyond what we know. Learning to expand our awareness beyond what we know into what we do not know. And anytime you ask a question, if it's a question you do not personally have the answer to, if you are learning to listen out instead of trying to figure out the answer, allow yourself to hear it. Learn to listen. As I said earlier, learn when you ask a question, learn to listen and observe what comes in response. Yes, okay, I got it. One more question. You're welcome, Artist Girl. Question from Jana B. Does my future self have any message for me today? Before we give you the answer that you have given yourself, we would simply ask you, what does your future self have as a message for you? What does this future self say? For as you ask this question, you are doing many things simultaneously. You are both in a process of trying to create a future that you have already created, but you think you have to create it because you are separate from it. But you are simultaneously looking from your future to your past and offering a different reality to it. And what is the different reality you would offer to your past self, looking at it from who you are in the future? What would you give to yourself now that would make your life more of what you think you need it to be? And you will have your answer. And we would simply say that the joy and the excitement that you can open yourself up to doing, what do you mean by doing? She may become more engaged in activities that make her heart happy. We see dance and song and playfulness. But likewise, she may also choose other things. She is free to do this. But anybody who would seek to speak to their future, we would hope would speak to the future self that is much greater than the one that they are now, and that they would be listening enough to listen and make the changes as they come. So anyway, this has been very exciting. There's so many, I got more questions than I have answers myself at this process, but I'm really excited. So how you can remember your past lives. Learn to meditate. Get your mind and body still and quiet. Expand your awareness beyond what you remember and begin to ask questions outside of what you know and listen. Take time to practice that process. Yes. Again, we do Supernatural Saturday every Saturday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and this Saturday we'll do the process for meditating, for integrating these concepts that we do on Shortcuts for Your Soul Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The Supernatural Saturday is a meditative process that we bring forward to allow people to integrate into their biology and into their awareness the frequencies, the information that's been communicated on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So I hope you'll join us for Supernatural Saturday, but I also hope you'll join us for Shortcuts for Your Soul on this Friday, because there's so much change now that we're moving into this new these new energies on the planet that are coming in, and as much as these energies are coming into the planet, we're the ones that are bringing it into the planet. We're calling it forth. We're calling forth this ascension. We're calling forth this new change of consciousness, and it's going to come in the most wondrous ways. I'm told this next coming year is going to be absolutely amazing, filled with all kinds of change and wonder. And remember, that body, I'm just remembering what they said earlier. Remember, the bodies that we're in right now are just like a period in a cosmic book, right? In an infinite book of life. That body that you're in right now is just one period. Imagine what the rest of the story is like. Don't get caught in being a period, but begin to expand your awareness out to begin to read the sentences that come before and after, and then to borrow from that and make the now that you have in that form incredible, because you can make an incredible life for yourself. I want to thank everybody for your support. My Patreons, thank you so much. If any of you who are new here today, please remember to like this video, subscribe to my channel. And if you want to support the work, you can go to my Patreon page, patreon.com, and become a supporter of these messages. Also, you can use the super chats if you've got a question that you really want answered. You can use the super chat section and prioritize your questions during the live events, because as you can see, I can't get to all the questions in the same day. They're laughing at me, saying, we always get to all the questions. Yes. So if you're listening to your question, if you ask your question and it hasn't been answered, you might listen enough and hear your answer. I want to say thank you, everybody, for showing up today. Much love to everybody. We'll see you on Friday on Shortcuts for Your Soul at 10 a.m. on my YouTube channel. Bye for now, everybody. Much love.